Welcome back to the channel, guys. Now, firstly, allow me to apologise for wearing a hat indoors. It's freezing cold today, and my office, for some reason, the heating's not working. It's chuffing freezing in here, so I ain't got my shorts on or anything today. I'm suited up for the winter, basically, so apologise for that, but anyway, we'll move on. So this week has all been about the final at Shrewsbury Valley, the carp final, and I've been looking forward to this for a few weeks, and couldn't wait to get going. And obviously, because of COVID and everything, the lads have been drawing the pegs out for you, and all week I've just been thinking about getting on like peg 46, 48, 24, but I really fancied like 48 area, and I couldn't believe it when AD Hull, the owner of the venue, drew me out. I was like, I couldn't get in my van fast enough to drive around the lake to get there. Obviously, the weather has taken a massive turn the last few days, especially at the weekend. It was freezing. It's cold today, but on Saturday, honestly, it was so cold. It was like a biting wind right down the lake, and my peg was sort of not catching the wind, and I just thought, this just looks perfect. It's not catching the cold wind. It's the right area of the lake. I honestly thought I'm just going to win this at a canter, to be honest with you. I thought it's going to be easy. How wrong could I be? But anyway, so peg 48, it's one out of a corner. It looked really, really nice, like I say, and I fancied it for exactly what I wanted to do. My plan was, I thought I'll fish maggots short, top kitten 2, where I had the same depth as I did on peg 40 the week before in the corner, but it was like perfectly on the slope, nice depth, like 4.5 foot. So I fished there. And I really fancy catching some fish on a long pole in deep water. It's deep, that lake. It's a full top kit of your pole deep, sort of 7-8 foot. And what I did was I decided to fish hard pellets. I thought we're just going cold. I thought if I just ping 6 mils out there, I'm just going to have a lovely day fishing, just get an odd bite. I fished out there hard pellets before and caught really well, so I just thought I'll just ping hard pellets out there and just pick off fish, and that was the plan. And then the margins. Now, with it getting cold, I wasn't so sure about the margins, but I know the fish there, no matter what the weather is. Obviously not when it's really cold, but even still now, they love coming in the edges there. So I thought, well, I'm going to catch some. I probably won't catch a load like I have been, sort of doing, but I'll catch some. Paste rigs were long gone. They're in my drawers here that I've got for all my kit. They're long gone, out the window now. It's too cold. So plan of action was, like I say, maggot short, pellets long, and then in the edge, I wanted to feed micros and corn. Now, I'll go into a bit more of this later about the margins, but I had a little trick up my sleeve, which actually, bared a lot of fruit. So we'll talk about that later. So the match started. I potted in just a palm full of maggots short, and a little tiny blob of ground bait. Now, I didn't mention this in last week's vlog, but when I was on peg 40, I was really experimenting that day, and I started throwing balls of slop in to try and catch them shallow, basically. And I actually caught a load of F1s over the top of that. Missed that out, didn't I? And I felt it just pulled some F1s into my peg. Now I thought, well, I'll just kick off with a little ball and just see what happened. I didn't feed anything long, and I just sort of wanted to ease my way into the session. Probably half an hour in, I had not had an indication, not a sign of a fish, and it was obvious. I was looking around, no one was catching anything. Darren Acton opposite me, I had one. I think Mark Aikens in the corner, he'd caught one, but other than that, it was really tough going. And then I caught like one F1, but it just wasn't right. And I thought, well, it doesn't matter, they'll come, on that short maggot, they'll come. I'll go out long on the long pole. There was an odd fish rolling in front of me. I thought, I'll go out there and I'll catch him on the long pole. Gone out there, another half an hour, 40 minutes has passed without even an indication. I was just, like I say, feeding an odd pellet. I actually put a cad pot on my pole and rattled a few in because the wind was proving tricky at this point, and actually getting my bait tight enough was hard. So I thought, well, I'll just rattle them in from a height, make a similar noise, and then hopefully catch them on that. I caught one eventually, about £4, £5 on the bottom, and then just totally randomly, a carp swirled in my peg right as I flicked. It went calm. I fed some pellets. It went flat calm, and one carp swirled when I fed. I was like, blooming neck. So I quit, and I had actually some shallow rigs set up, because I thought sometimes, when it's sunny and you're on the back of the wind like that, you can catch them shallow even in cold weather. When the fish just come up naturally. So I set up a couple of shallow rigs actually. And I quickly nipped out. My rig was 2 foot deep, and I slapped it over a couple of times, and I got one straight away, about £6. I was like, oh God, if I can catch an odd one doing this, then I'll be well away. but that was my only bite. But it just shows you, doesn't it, that fish obviously came in, I seen it swirl, whether it was that one I caught, who knows, but you know, I had a fish 5 minutes later, so it might have been the same fish. Cheers again, everyone. The cup is still with us. Nice cup of tea on a cold day. Anyway, so the long pole just wasn't happening. It was really frustrating, I've got to say, really frustrating. I felt like that would be a bit of a banker. The maggot short, like I say, it just was not happening. So I was at a bit of a crossroads because, you know, halfway through this match, I'm thinking, I'm just not catching anything here. I knew there'd come some fish later on, maybe in the edge or whatever, but I thought, they're just not coming. It's not happening. Probably 20 pounders been in the lake at that point. It was really tough. So I got up off my box, I got another top kit out of my bag, and I decided to put another rig on, and I plumbed up a section further out in front of me, so top kit and 3 instead of top kit and 2. Now, I've mentioned this before, but it's a continuous slope away at Shearsby. So that got me about another foot of depth, and I thought, I just wonder with this colder weather whether them fish will not come in a bit closer. And it proved out to be a good move because within 5 minutes I had a carp, I caught some barbel, a few F1s, an odd smaller carp, and it wasn't great by any means, but I was throwing my maggots in like I was shorter and catching just an odd fish. And I was getting signs of, you know, life. For the first time in the match, there was signs of life in my peg. But all the time I'm thinking, I want to win. So I'm throwing maggots in aggressively. And it was like disengaged brain moment really when I think about it, because there's no silvers in there to feed off. The F1s weren't feeding, those small F1s that I've been catching, they weren't feeding. So I'm rafting maggots in thinking they'll come. And really what I was doing was just building up a bed of maggots on the bottom. So in hindsight, what I would have been better off doing is fishing purely with a cad pot. I did put a cad pot on and fed some, but I would have been better off just potting in 10 or 15 maggots and just sitting and waiting until I caught one. That would have been the best way to do it on the day, but you know, you live and learn. And likewise, I think on the long pole, if I'd have just potted in like quarter of a big pot of maggots every sort of 20 minutes and fished over it and just nicked an odd fish, I think I would have caught a few fish out there doing that. So, but you live and learn. It's sort of the first time I fished it when the temperatures dropped. So, but that's something to, you know, to take forward into future matches. And the short pole started happening, so I'm catching a few fish there, not bagging by any means, but compared to the rest of the day, I was getting some bites, so I was happy with that. And then I noticed Mark Aiken's tinny opposite me. He caught 2 in 2 chucks down the edge. He might have even had 3, and I could see from my peg, he was in the corner, fishing up the bank, it was flat calm out the wind, and I could actually see the tails in his peg. He wasn't catching many, but compared to everyone else on the lake, it was like, whoa, he's flying here. So that was my cue to sort of feed down the edge. Now, obviously on that peg, I was the end peg, so I had the right to go at and I had the left. Now, with my previous experience at Shearsby over the last few weeks, ripple is everything. So the only place I could get any ripple in the edge was to my left. Obviously, I wanted to fish to the right because that's where the space was. So I was in a bit of a quandary here because it plumbed up the same. So I decided, I thought, do you know what, I'm going to try and nick some to my left, and if it doesn't happen, I can always feed to the right and hope it happens. So I went in down the left, I literally potted in, and then this is where my little trick came in. Now, so everyone will be familiar with Winning Ways. Jamie Hughes and Andy May do a brilliant YouTube channel, and Rich Chapman who films it, absolutely awesome. I cannot wait to watch every video that they put on, brilliant stuff. And Jamie revealed how he fished the margins at Larford, how he fed small baits, ground bait, micros and such, and then fishes a metre past with bigger baits, like pellets and corn, like big pellets. And it's been going through my mind that the same situation was happening at Shearsby. The fish were coming along the bank. So they're not coming from out of the lake to get to your bait. They must swim up into the spare peg and then come along the bank until they get to your bait. And that's what I felt was happening. And I went for a practice session the week before, I did some filming and that. And I tried how Jamie was fishing and it was brilliant. And I thought, do you know what? If it's a hard day on that final, this is going to be worth a few quid, this. And that's how I fished it. I fed micros and a little bit of corn at top kit and 3 in the shallow water, and then I fished a full section further past and just potted in like 5-6 mils, a couple of grains of corn, and fished like well past it basically, with double corn on the hook. And I caught 2 straight away, as clean as a whistle, no liners, no nothing, just sit there, wallop, got one. I thought, wow, this is brilliant. I'm gonna, I could catch another sort of 8 or 9 fish here. And then it just stopped. No fish were coming in the edge whatsoever. It was like, oh God, that was like a bit of a false dawn, but I was really happy with the tactics. So then I've gone on my maggot shore. Again, no one's catching anything, bear this in mind. Other than Tinny on the other side, no one's catching anything on the lake. So I've gone on my maggot shore and I've caught an odd fish, and I thought, and then this is where I was in real 2 minds then, because I could tick over on my maggot shore and get to sort of £40 if I'm lucky, but I knew that with Tinny's bigger fish, I'd need £50 really to do any good. So I've rolled the dice, and with 25 minutes to go, I've put my plummet on. I've quickly just checked my depths to my right into the corner. I fed exactly the same, a metre short of where I've actually planned to fish. I've gone past, I've tapped some bait in, and I've caught another 3 in that edge, including a real big one, an 8-pounder. And then I've had one right on the whistle, and it was just perfect. Those, I've caught 5 fish down the edge, not foul at one. They're really hard to catch at Shearsby down the edge, and that made it easy. So cheers, Jamie. Thanks for that. That video really helped me out there. But I still didn't think I had enough. I thought, Tinny on the other bank will beat me for the lake prize. And I'd heard that they'd caught £80, £90 on the other lake. So winning had gone out the window. But if I could get a lake prize. And this is where a massive stroke of luck came in. So I felt that was good angling actually on my part, that edge move. I could say I was lucky as well because I caught some better fish, but I thought that was good angling. How they decided to pay the money out, it was £550 for the winner, £550 for the winner of the overall competition, and then second place, because it's on 2 lakes, Hurricane and Tornado, generally what happens is one lake will fish better than the other. So Dan and Adi decided to do like a continental payout. So whatever lake the match winner came from, then second place would be the lake winner from the opposite lake. So this is where I got majorly lucky, because my £56 was actually second overall in the payout, despite being 6th in the match. I think it was Pete White that won it, £80. Then Steve Kinch was second, Kinchy was second, John Shard was third, and then Stu Tapp was 4th, all on the other lake. But fortunately, because of the continental payout, I was actually second overall in the payout, which amazingly lucky. And I must say, I'm not a fan of continental payouts when they stagger the things like that, but as of Saturday, biggest fan in the world. I am continental payouts #1 fan. Cheers, Dan and Adi, great idea. In all seriousness though, a massive, massive stroke of luck on my part. But I must say, a big well done to Pete White, who won the match. He's the most consistent angler at the venue, without a shadow of a doubt. He fishes there a lot. He goes there Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, I think he fishes there. And he's always Mr. Consistent. He's either in the frame or wins. And I have no doubt in my mind that if he'd have been on my peg, he'd have won. So, because he'd have fished it dead negative like he does with his meat. He fishes small bits of meat short and just sits and waits for carp, and it works every time for him. So he would have won on my peg without a doubt. I was way too aggressive. So yeah, so that rounds off a great series. That's sort of summer fishing over with now, I suppose. It's great for the lads, Dan and Adi Hull and the Hull family, who have managed to cram those qualifiers in and give a match where there's a real good payout. It's a brilliant little summer series, that, and the fishing's been brilliant. The cold weather just ruined the fishing really. No, it didn't actually, because there was bites to be caught, but it just meant that all the tactics that we've all been using all summer just were not even applicable. It was winter tactics, and if I'd have been a bit more switched on and had a bit more experience fishing there in the colder months, I think I'd have pushed. I probably could have won, because I would have caught another £20 out in the match, £30 if I'd have just been a bit more switched on. So yeah, so that's Shearsby over and done with for this campaign, for this summer campaign. Move on to sort of winter fishing now. Various winter leagues. I've got a brilliant winter pairs feeder series with Rob Wootton, and I think I probably will be on with more feeder fishing now. I love winter feeder fishing. It really is, right up my street. That regular casting, little feeders and all that. I can't wait to get on that. So I'm going to start some kit off. We've got our ITS trade show next week. So Press Innovations massive product reveal next week. So everyone should be tuning in for that. Lots of new excellent tackle on the show. I'll put a video on here of me doing a walk around of the show, you know, from the where we're doing it. Different this year, obviously. We can't have, you know, the punters in, and we can't have all the tackle shop owners in, so we're doing it virtually on Zoom calls and things like that. So really excited for that. It'll be interesting to see how that goes down. Hopefully the trade will support us, because we're putting a lot of effort in to show, you know, everyone the new kit. So there you go, guys. That's it now for this week. I'm going to try and get out and do some videos later in the week for the channel as well, some fishing ones. So hopefully we'll bring you those soon enough. But thanks everyone for watching again. You know, I love the comments and all the people who are subscribing and liking and that. Love you to bits. See you later.